Not what I was expecting.
I love your hair. I was hoping you would dress like Cher.
Did Ian have that hat?
Yeah. We got this in Niagara on the Lake.
Oh, no.
And no, it was like it's an Irish store.
Oh, not Italian American?
No. Andiamo, la luna.
La luna. What does he say when he's telling them to howl? He literally just like, howl.
Houla. La luna, bella luna.
No entiendo. I think that's Spanish, not Italian. Hey everyone, welcome to VomCom, the podcast where we talk about the romantic comedies that we love to hate.
And hate to love. I'm Kat.
And I'm Molly.
And this week, we watched Moonstruck. I have never seen before, even though I thought I did. But the movie I was thinking of was The Family Man or A Family Man that also has Nick Cage. I think he's in a wife beat white tank top in that as well. You're not gonna get me.
No. Never catch no slipping.
This is my first time watching this movie.
Is that a first for the pod? That like you've never watched a film before that I actually have watched?
Maybe. Interesting. Wow. 2025, full of new beginnings. New milestones. Wow. Yeah. So this is the beginning of my relationship with this movie. Molly, what is your relationship with this movie?
This is one of my mom's favorite movies.
Okay.
So it came out in 1987. And so I had seen it probably like 2 or 3 times growing up. And then I watched it again as an adult, maybe like 5-6 years ago. This is definitely one of the movies that like I liked it because it was nostalgic and I had been primed for it. I don't know. I guess when you watch something as a kid, you just like accept things about it.
Yeah. Girl, you don't have to tell me. That's all of the movies we've basically watched in this thing. Like I can just name a bunch. Just my luck. Leap year. I didn't even watch that as a kid, but I was like 19. 19-year-old Catherine versus 32-year-old Catherine is very different.
Well, when your frontal lobe develops, you're allowed to have different opinions, right?
Yeah, when all of the slosh in here solidifies, that's different. I look like fucking princess. Te amo.
No, not the battle scars face. You know what you look like? You literally look like a ghost at a historic site that people see, and when they walk up to it, it like disappears into the fog. Can you imagine? You just approach, you're in a graveyard, and you just approach this figure that looks like you, and then all you hear on the wind, princess. And then it's like, what was that? You look around, and when I look back, you're gone.
Bro, when I'm an old crone, I'm just gonna go like walk slowly in places. I'm gonna wear big, kind of out of date clothes, and I'm just gonna walk and I'm gonna freak people out.
When you said out of date, I was like, oh, like from the 70s or something. But You mean like Victorian era?
Whatever I can get my hands on. Any era, I'm gonna dress like that, and I'm just gonna wander. Like, you know how you need to like walk for health? I'm just gonna do my morning walks in cemeteries and freak people out. Freak the young people out. Or just stand around corners and stare at young kids or like teenagers. And then when they look at me, and they look away, I just disappear. And then I just hear them screaming. And then I go on with my day. That's fun.
And then you run. Like when they go around the corner, you run, right?
I just run at them.
Shit, I meant like run away, so like you disappear. But run at them is so much worse. I love it. I feel like you've been reading my diary. That sounds like something I would say.
Yeah, right? I can't get over this.
Maybe that should be the thumbnail. Oh my god.
I do that face a lot. It's like
just with the hat. Oh my god, this is really one you have to watch on video, guys.
Princess, have you met my 5 dogs? My 5 dogs?
The wolf pack.
Bro, okay. So, I know what you're saying. I kind of want you to lead the charge on this movie, on this, because you have more history on it. I just want to know what you think, because you just rewatched it. And I knew you grew up with it. So, but like, how does 33-year-old Molly feel about it?
I still like it, but not because it's like A, one of the best movies made, or B, even one of the best rom-coms made. But it definitely hits all of the markers for being a rom-com. And it's very absurdist almost. It feels kind of like a stage play.
Yes. So this is something that Ian said to me yesterday because I was really fighting like demons watching this movie. I really was. I was having a hard time. And Ian was watching with me. And I said to him, I was literally, for half the movie, I was like this, sitting like this.
Were your fists clenched?
Yeah, I was just like, and then at a certain part, and we'll get to that part, I literally had to be like watching like this behind the thing because I was so angry. But yeah, I said to him, sometimes, depending on the movie, sometimes I have a hard time watching old movies.
Yeah.
And he got annoyed with me. He's like, I hate that because there's so many movies I want to show you, but I just know that you're not like gonna appreciate it. I was like, okay. And then he said, if you have to think sometimes of old movies as like stage plays. I was like, yeah, I get that. But sometimes I don't have to like it. I don't like every play. Okay. But thinking about it in that kind of vein, like I understand. And overall, I like the movie because it's enjoyable. It's very funny. I was laughing out loud. I was LOLing.
That's good.
Okay. Because it's very funny. Did it make me upset? Yes.
I'm very keen to get into why.
This is the logline from IMDb for Moonstruck. Loretta Castorini, a bookkeeper from Brooklyn, New York, finds herself in a difficult situation when she falls for the brother of the man she has agreed to marry. Great. One of our better loglines, to be honest. To be honest, princess? One of the better ones.
I can't deal with you with this hat and this face.
Okay, I know.
Just sitting there with that fucking face on your face. This is a big Cinderella reveal.
It was me. I was not a no-no at all. I have an idea.
You're gonna Kangle it?
I'm gonna Kangle it. I'm gonna Samuel L. Jackson it.
I'm so ready for this.
Bro, Missy Elliott called. She said, get in my music video.
Come on, after school special.
Say no to
World.
Drugs.
Say no to freestyle hip-hop dance classes.
Was someone mean to you? Don't let them.
Just walk away. Thought you were doing like a... You know who you look like, girl?
Who?
A Senorita Awesome.
Oh my god.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Don't cry. Get it off me.
That's so upsetting, bro.
Oh my god. The angle and the curled hair and the like caramel blonde, it really was it. It was, I had like a vision when you turned the hat.
I have goosebumps. It's literally my biggest fear to become Senorita Awesome. What were we talking about? Okay, thank you for letting me change my costume.
We talked about the log line.
Of all of the log lines I think that we've ever encountered, it's like the best one, I want to say. It hits all the points, you know?
Yeah. And it's a little bit unusual though, because like, it's like what, one sentence?
Yeah.
So it's so simple, yet it's not missing anything. And that kind of speaks to how uncomplicated this plot is, I think.
Yeah, so the movie came out in 1987. It is, I think, an original screenplay directed by Norman Jewison, written by John Patrick Shanley.
Oh my god, it won 3 Oscars.
I'm so glad you have brought that up because I wanted to talk about the Oscars. I wanted to talk about the critical acclaim of this movie.
Was it?
There's a lot, okay? Let me tell you.
That's surprising to me.
Let me tell you.
Because like I said, I like this movie, but I don't think it's like that good. I don't know.
Oh, this is what I was fucking saying, okay? So Moonstruck received critical acclaim upon release. So on Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 89%. I feel like this is one of our highest rated movies we've ever done. I think. I don't think I've seen a movie in the 80s. Based on 76 critics with an average score of 7.8 out of 10. The site's consensus read, led by energetic performances from Nicolas Cage and Cher, Moonstruck is an exuberantly funny tribute to love and one of the decade's most appealing comedies. On Metacritic, the film has a score of 83 out of 100 based on reviews from 18 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on an A+ to F scale.
That's shocking.
Right? And then you mentioned the Oscars. So we know that Cher is an Oscar winner. Did you know that she won Best Actress for this role?
I think so, actually. I think I did know that, but like in the back of my head, because some of her lines in this are like, whenever you think of Cher, doing a Cher impersonation, you think of the line snap out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
The slap and the snap out of it.
That's from this movie. So like that just goes to show you that everyone has seen this movie, and it was obviously huge. I'm pretty sure it was super like it performed really well in the box office and stuff.
Yeah, I think I read that as well. So for the Academy Awards, it was nominated for Best Picture, nominated for Best Director, won for Best Actress for Cher, Best Supporting Actor Vincent Gardenia, who was the dad, Best Supporting Actress, who was Olympia Dukakis, won,
Love.
and then Best Original Screenplay for John Patrick Shanley, which he won. So 3 Oscar wins out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were American Comedy Awards, there were Artios Awards, something called the ASCAP Film and Television Music Awards, Berlin
What did you call
International.
me?
You heard me. There's the Berlin International Film Festival, British Academy Film Awards. So Cher was the direct, Olympia Dukakis was, John Patrick Shanley for writing it, Dick Hyman, who's like the music.
Excuse me?
Dick Hyman.
That's what I thought you said. Just checking.
Dukakis, who plays the mom, which I want to talk about. She
Please.
won so many things for this movie, which is, it's not crazy, but I was just like, what are the other movies that were nominated this year? I want to know. Like, what else was out in 1987, you know?
We should look it up and compare, because I know a lot of the time Oscars is about politics.
Mm.
Like, who was it who had not won an Oscar his whole career? It was like Marlon Brando or something. He hadn't won an Oscar his whole career. And then the year he won for Best Actor, he was like in his 60s or 70s at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like, at that point, it was kind of like a Lifetime Achievement Award. But he beat out other like nominees who were way better. Like everyone was a little confused by it. And it's like the politics of it. So
Yeah.
it could be one of those things. Now, mind you, I think Olympia Dukakis was one of the best parts of this movie. She's a national treasure, and I love her.
I love her. I was trying to figure out where she was from, and then Steel Magnolias is one.
Mm-hmm.
There were a bunch of other things. She's been in over like 150 stage plays.
Whoa.
Queen. Also, the name Olympia Dukakis.
She's meant for the stage, really, with a name like that.
What do you like about this film?
Right off the bat, one thing I know you will also like, and I was hoping would help carry you through the movie, was the Italian-American New York aesthetic and kind of community vibes. Like right off the bat, it's like, New York, we're in New York.
Yeah.
New York City.
I literally wrote as my first like vibes, and I mean like Italian-American Brooklyn of a certain time. And what I said to Ian yesterday when we were watching, when they were all talking and they were all talking like this.
Oh my God, such hand talkers.
Such hand talkers. Amazing.
Love.
But I was saying to Ian, I was like, there are 2 wolves inside of me, okay? One is a middle-aged, big-bellied Italian-American man, okay? That's one voice in my head.
Yeah.
The other voice is like a teenage British schoolgirl. Those are the 2 voices that I think are in my head.
And they're brawling.
And they're brawling. They're always fighting. So this movie, very fun for that. I love it. It did help a lot of things because it's just so entertaining.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't even matter what they're saying. Like, obviously, I was paying very close attention to what they were saying because I was trying to have an analytical eye this watch through. But, like, if you're just going off of vibes, the vibes are great. Everyone's, like doing this. At one point, her dad says something, and he goes, I don't like him. And he sticks his hand out like this. Like a little, like, devil horns, whatever this is. He goes like this.
Yeah.
I don't like him. I was like, what are you? You're just making things up now. You're freestyling at this point.
I love it. Also, they're having fun and they're really like acting their little salamis off, you know?
It's very prosciutto, very gabagool, very cannoli type vibes.
Yeah, it's just fun. 80s New York, Italian Americans. I loved. So entertaining. So fun.
What more could you want? Yeah.
That goes into my second likes where I said accents because I feel like the point on its own deserves that.
Who does your favorite?
I think the dad, he
Good.
does my favorite. And then even Nick Cage also does my favorite because I think, okay, there are 2 people in this movie who I think were in their own movie.
Who?
So the first one would be Nick Cage.
Yeah.
He is in his own world, his own plane of existence, his own movie, I want to say. The vibes with him are so different with the vibes with everybody else. And I mean, that's why you kind of get Nick Cage. I can't remember if this is his like first ever movie, but you know, he really hammed it up. When they said energetic performance, capital E energetic, okay?
He walked on set to make sure everyone was awake, and then he started banging pots and pans around, and that was his acting style.
he started lifting tables and counters to see if they were glued to the ground so that he would know when to flip them, you know? So he's one. And then
Yeah.
the second one is Olympia Dukakis, only because of her
Mm.
storyline. And that was one of the things, because she's a big like for me.
Oh, yeah.
Her, Cher, and the grandpa, my favorites. I don't even remember the mom's name.
Rose.
Rose. Isn't like, if this movie was just her storyline, and like that scene of her in the restaurant later where she's suspecting that her husband is cheating on her, and she goes to this, I guess, this restaurant that they go to all the time, and she's sitting there and she's like, martini first. He's like, what do you want to eat? She's like, martini first. And she's sitting there drinking. She's like jadedly looking around at everybody. I'm like, I would watch the hell out of that movie. If this movie was that, it would be getting 10 out of 10 for me. So that's those two, but like hers is in a good way where she's in a different movie. Nick Cage is in a bad way because he's up here. He's like out in the stratosphere.
Yeah. Olympia Dukakis is like carrying her own B plot, which could easily be the main storyline. And then Nick Cage is not taking directions well. That's the vibe. My other likes are kind of like a tack on to the first like as well, which is that their family home looks so cozy and nice and comfy and nicely decorated and has just the right amount of tchotchkes, and I love it so much.
Yeah, I love it as well. It reminded me of the Practical Magic House, but like Italian American.
God, yeah, literally. Very good comparison. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I like the acting. I think we talked about that. Everyone is acting their little salamis off, which is good. And then I like the like vague kind of mysticism that's going around. Oh my God. That scene when she sees her fiance off in the airport and she's talking to that tiny old Italian woman. And the Italian woman is like, do you have someone on that plane? Cher's like, yeah. She goes, I put a curse on that plane, bro. The way that whole speech had me on the edge of my seat, howling, laughing. And if it was a stage play, I would play the hell out of that role.
Ooh, that's a great question. What role do you want in this out of the whole movie?
Definitely that little old lady. And then either the aunt.
Yes.
The aunt or the uncle.
They're both great.
They're great. They're so funny. What are the names, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, of this movie?
Oh my God, yes. Excellent comparison. A lot of the stuff that they brought to the table, they were enriching the kind of like themes of the movie, but they also were bringing an element of their own subtle mysticism. It's almost like he has a little monologue when he is sitting at the dinner table and he's talking about one night when Cosmo was kind of like dating Rose and he went and stood outside their house and he like brought the moon with him and it was shining in the uncle's room. And he was like, so that whole story, the way he told it, it was kind of like a little bit almost dreamy. And then Cosmo goes, no, that never happened. You must have been dreaming. And the uncle goes, no, it was real. You were there. Like the way he like kind of whispered it was like, there are those moments that are just a little bit like, oh, interesting. We're having a little bit of this like magical realism almost. I mean, not so much, but there are like, they talk about good luck, bad luck, curses, the power of the moon a lot.
Yeah. Which is why when he had that whole big speech, I was like, this is a lot of focus on the moon and what it means to have Cosmo like standing under their house's like window and whatever. And it's because he was talking about like Cosmo romancing Rose. I was expecting a little more to come out of that conversation and not just a callback to it almost immediately, like the next scene after, where he gets awoken because a bright light is shining on him and it's because of the moon. And then it just makes him have sex with his wife.
That's so funny. The way I kind of read this moon thing, obviously the movie's called Moonstruck. The moon is going to be a big deal. But the way they talk about the moon is almost kind of like the way they used to talk about, you know, the moon makes people crazy. That's why they used to call them lunatics, right?
Yes,
and
yes,
so
yes.
The grandpa even said, the moon makes the woman go to the man. Remember when he goes to the cemetery to meet up with the No council?
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
Yeah, he's explaining to his friends, yes, the moon, and like out of nowhere too. And that's what kind of felt absurdist about it, is like they were having different conversations, but at each other. So the way I kind of read it, it's almost like the moon represents love. Mm-hmm. So only those who are in love or experiencing love get to see the moon in that state, or they experience it because they've seen the moon in that state. The moon has like touched them and graced them with the love. You'll notice in that one scene where everyone's looking at the big full moon, the only person who doesn't see it is Cosmo because he's asleep drunk because he drank too much because he felt guilty about cheating on his wife, I guess.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I feel like it needed to have come in a little sooner. Like the night
Mhm.
that because it was like this. No, it was the same night. They only spent one night together technically. No, two.
Too, yeah.
Two, right? So she saw the big moon on the first night, or was it the opera night?
It was the opera night because the first night they went to the bed, and then the next time you see them, it's her waking up, being like, "Oh shit, what did I do?" And then the next time she's like, "We're just going to the opera. I'm not going back to your house, okay?" And then she wakes up in the middle of the night. Yeah.
I wish that she had met him under that big moon first,
Mm,
because then it would have kind of tied it a little together. Because also technically, he works in a bakery, and bakers work very early. So like
yeah.
they start at like 3 a.m. So it is very plausible that she could have tried to meet him, and he's like, no, no, no. And then she tried to catch him unaware. She goes early.
I like that. That would have been a really smart change. And actually, that would have just created that link that we need a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I wish that he had done that.
Thank you. I'm gonna call what's his face, John Patrick Stanley, up and be like, "You don't deserve that Oscar.
Give it to me.
Give it to me instead." I just wish it was a little bit more, because then I feel like I would buy into it more. Not that it was an afterthought necessarily, but because it's not full on, it felt lacking.
Yeah, there was something that wasn't quite like closing the right way on this metaphor. And I also got the feeling that like this movie, you will understand it more if you have a high level of theater or other type of media literacy, because there was some stuff that kind of felt like it was going over my head because I'm not like I don't know that much in depth about theater. For example, they keep making references to La Boheme, the opera, and I've never seen it, never heard any of the songs, so I looked it up and I was kind of like, hey, ChatGPT, what are the themes of La Boheme? And they were like themes of enlightenment, good versus evil, and friendship. But I was like, those things kind of play in, so I can see how they might be referencing in that way. So then I read the synopsis, and the synopsis kind of made more sense because it's a story about people choosing love, sometimes against their better judgment or against like their own personal well-being sometimes. And I was like, okay, so this is about how love makes you crazy. But that was the only connection I got to La Boheme, but they so heavy-handedly referenced it multiple times. So there must be something else. And there was so much subtext. Every single conversation so quickly turned into a confrontation because everyone had so much passive aggression and the subtext.
Yeah.
First of all, their hands are moving, bro. Their hands are like Muhammad Ali moving around.
If you're in that room, all you hear is, if you just mute their voices because they're loud, you're just gonna hear. Yeah.
Excellent Foley work. And I actually did like that there was a lot of subtext because it made me like, this is part of what made it feel like theater. That thing that we've talked about before where two people are having a conversation with each other ostensibly, but really they're having two different conversations and no one is really acknowledging the fact that this is not a cohesive conversation. And I think actually telling you about these people's motivations and this kind of thing, but also showing that these characters are having miscommunication. They're constantly having miscommunication. And that makes sense in this movie. But it also makes me think that it makes me feel sometimes like there's something that I'm missing.
You don't have to say think. You hit the nail on the head because that's exactly what good plays, specifically dialogue. That's what makes for good dialogue in theater and screenplays, all of that stuff. Because like you don't have real dialogue in movies. You don't have characters going, "How are you?" "I'm good." And "How are you?" Like it shouldn't be any of that. Every line is intentional to show like what does this character want when they say this line? What do they want? What do they need? What are they fighting for? That's literally like a slide out of my last screenplay writing class. You're exactly right. And like that's the thing is that looking at it like that, I do like it overall. It just pissed me off. And like that's fine. Because like you can't be on board with everybody's decisions and characters and whatever. But I think my biggest flaw with it, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, is just I don't care about any of the romance. And that's my biggest problem.
Yeah. Oh, you were breadcrumbing it there for a while. And I was like, oh my God, she's teasing. She's teasing. What is it going to be? What's the big dislike? But I can like kind of rapid fire through the rest of my likes because we've kind of like touched on a lot of them. I think Olympia Dukakis is amazing in it. She carries.
Yeah.
The fact that they cast her as Cher's mom really works. when you see them sat next to each other.
It does. And also, you know what's so funny is that we were
What?
looking it up because we were like, how old is everybody?
Oh God, yeah, that's something.
Olympia Dukakis, 15 years older than Cher. Isn't that so funny?
Yeah. Even the guy she got engaged to, Johnny, at the beginning, when he
Mm.
came into the same room as her dad, I was like, are they the same age? I'm
Yeah,
confused.
I know. We were trying to
So
figure out the
yeah.
logistics of how old Ronnie was in comparison to Johnny because we were like, Nick Cage, in that, I think when he filmed that, he was like 23. He was
That
very
makes
early
sense.
20s. Yeah, he was very early 20s. And then Cher is in her 40s when she did this movie. And then Ian was like trying to figure out how old Johnny was. Is he in his 50s? I'm like, but he was telling me the whole time, because that's also one of the things I'll get into my dislikes. He was telling me the whole time, like in the 80s, women who were 35 looked like they were old spinsters. Like the Golden Girls were in their 50s,
Yeah.
you know?
I think about that all the time. Truly, just like the hairstyling
Yeah.
and the clothes they were wearing is just like, wow, they really did a whole generation dirty. Wait, did
Yeah.
Ian really like this movie?
I think he's seen this movie before, but he likes it. But at the end, he stormed off into the kitchen to like make his tea, and he was like, "This movie is ridiculous. It is ridiculous." But he was laughing, like he was laughing and watching and enjoying the whole time.
Wait, so
But
would
it
you
is.
say that watching this movie made him crazy?
Oh, he was moonstruck.
Da Moon, we love Da Moon. Okay, what else do I like?
Olympia Dukakis is also on my likes. Her and Cher, but Cher we can talk about.
Yeah, they're both gems. I like the characterization of Loretta as this person who's very paradoxical. She's an accountant. She's so pragmatic in everything. She's like, why would you buy flowers? They're just going to end up in the garbage. But then when the florist hands her one, she's like, nice. And then she talked about how she waited for love for her first marriage and she was in her like late 20s at that point, and like I guess that was supposed to be very late. Like she's like, I waited so long until I was 28 for marriage to
Yeah,
like
that's
marry someone I
bordering
love.
spinster. That's bordering
Yeah,
spinster.
yeah, so she was crazy for that. But
Yeah.
so she's like a romantic, but then she also chose a highly pragmatic career. And you look at what she's wearing, it's all very sensible. When we first see her and Johnny together, they go to dinner and she explains why he shouldn't eat the fish because it'll make him sick on the plane. It's like you're very down to earth, level headed, but at the same time, she's prone to flights of fancy. And as soon
Yes.
as Nick Cage kind of comes onto her and also infuriates her, she's like, I'm in. I bite.
Yeah.
And she really just like lets herself get carried away with it. So I think that's very
Yeah.
interesting. She says she doesn't believe in curses, but she does believe in bad luck. Stuff like that.
I really like Cher. I love Cher. I wish she did 1,000 million more movies than she has done.
Wagon wheel Watusi.
Wagon wheel Watusi.
So when it comes to No, I don't think his character has a name. I think he's credited as the old man. Classic theater, right?
Yeah.
And his whole conflict in this whole movie is that he sees that his granddaughter Loretta has got engaged, and then he sees that his son, her father, does not want to pay for the wedding. He thinks his son should pay for the wedding. And his whole conflict the entire movie is, I need to tell him that he should pay for this wedding, but I don't want to embarrass him. And no one cares what old people have to say. But you know what? I'm going to do it. And then, like, the penultimate scene right before she confesses to Johnny that, you know, what she did with his brother, he so seriously stands up. He's like, my son, I know you don't really care what I have to say, but you should pay for your daughter's wedding. She's your only daughter. And then everyone's like, well said. No, well said. Go on, sit down now. All of his character arc built up to that. Like, I love when you see him going to the park to the cemetery with his 5 dogs to meet with the other neighborhood no-nos, and they have their no council. I love that. I love his whole character and all the japes he gets up to.
Yeah. That's my last like grandpa. No. He is also another character I would love to play and have fun with.
You could ham it up so much.
I wonder if technically it works better as an old woman because women are most likely to walk around, like, especially of that time and of that age, and be like, no one pays attention to me. No one cares what I have to say. I'm just your mom, whatever. I'm doing so much rewriting of this.
Moonstruck 2.
Moonstruck 2. Moonstruck.
Moonstruck 2, Nonna's Revenge.
My dislike. Number 1, Nicolas Cage.
Big letters.
Big letters. I wrote so big. Oh, I ripped the paper.
Wow, heated. Oh my god, wow. That's conviction.
Listen, I should have maybe not written Nicolas Cage. Maybe I should have written Ronnie
Mm-hmm.
because
He's out to lunch.
fuck him and
Mm.
his nasty little mental episode haircut, okay? And I'm gonna say it, and his wooden hand, too,
Fuck you and your mother and your wooden hand.
that he just brings up sometimes out of the blue. It's like a normal whatever, and he just goes, thunk.
It's almost like it doesn't really matter after we find
It doesn't.
out. No.
No.
Oh, which for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, go watch the movie. But the character of Ronnie has bad blood with Loretta's fiance, Johnny, because he blames Johnny for losing the fingers on his left hand.
Yeah.
Which is not actually his fault. He just put his own fingers through a bread slicer by accident.
Yeah.
I guess.
By accident, and also Loretta's accusing him of doing it on purpose because he didn't want to get married. So he's using this conflict, this accident as I don't want to say as a crutch, but like he's using it as the reason to be mad at Johnny when really it's like it's not Johnny's fault. However much of a buffoon Johnny is, however much of a putz Johnny is, it's not his fault.
Yeah. He's a real jambone.
I don't like that character. I don't understand the choices necessarily that Nick Cage made.
Yes.
And you can say that, exactly. You can say that about almost his whole body of work. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I just feel like in this, it was a lot. When we first meet him, it is wild. I want to say one thing. I lost my hand. I lost my bride. He has his hand. He has his bride.
He was on a hairpin trigger, ready to go off at whichever person walked in that door. That's like the character.
Yeah.
Loretta walking in and very sensibly trying to introduce herself and speak with him, and he's soliloquizing about his lost hand and his lost bride. And it's like, he's like, when do I get my life? When do I get my happiness? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, so do you want to like go somewhere else and talk where there's no like fire and knives around or something? There's one point where he like hollers at like one of the people who works in the store and he's like, bring me the big knife. She's like, no, Ronnie. He's like, bring me the big knife. I'm gonna cut my throat.
Yeah.
We've just met, Ronnie.
We've just met. Also, you're at work.
I'm professional.
I'm professional.
HR is gonna love this one.
Everyone is standing there watching him and he's like, grab the knife. And it's like, Loretta didn't even say anything, bro. She just came in and she's like, your brother wants you to come to his wedding because it would mean a lot to him. And he's like, I'm gonna kill myself instead.
And he's like leaning up against the fireplace and he's like, I had a brother once. I had two hands once. Now where's my hand?
And he's demanding the knife. And when that young, I don't know, receptionist or whatever
So funny.
rejects him twice, he looks at Loretta and he's like, she's not gonna bring me the knife. And I was like, what is happening? And the whole time Loretta's just like, just assessing him, just blank face, not scared, not nothing. She didn't move a single face muscle. And I was like, what's going through your head, girl?
Because she's tired of these men. That's her whole character. Every man around her, she's like, ugh. She's just tired. She's done with it. She doesn't want to, she knows what they're about. She can read them like a book as soon as she casts an eye upon them. And then she tells them their life.
She tells them like it is. What sign do you think Loretta is?
I guess it's a very odd combination of, I know I say everyone's a Capricorn, but this just comes up when we're talking about Capricorns. I think she's a Capricorn with Aquarius placement somehow.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Or maybe it's some type of air placement because she's very like observant, and then she'll like break down a scenario within like 5 seconds of walking in and being like, this is the truth. You don't want to hear it, but whatever. Bing, bang, boom.
I think that's very Aquarius.
Maybe she's a cusp.
Maybe. Relatable. Waitable. The worst part
She
about
said
that
when
scene,
people come to her with their problems, they explain their problems to her, and then she goes, yeah. Do you wanna try it again? But better this time? She sits them down and then they go, what should I do? And you go, oh, Freudian slip. And Loretta goes, what do you think you should do? What are some options of things you could do?
you couldn't even get through it. Anyways, the worst part about that scene is when Loretta goes, okay, like, can we go somewhere else and talk? She's like, I was upstairs. And then they're walking away, and that girl, single tear coming out of her eye.
So
And
funny.
she's like, I love him. You'll never know, but I love him. I'm like, you could tell him while he's in the room.
She's having her own Shakespearean epic tale of melodrama. Like, it's
Yeah.
truly, it feels like all these people are like Shakespeare play characters. All of them,
Yeah.
except for like the mom and Loretta, except for the two of them are kind of like walking through this really weird world where everyone's being so extra. But that one quote she says, "This is the most tormented man I've ever known, and I'm in love with this man, but he doesn't know that. 'Cause I never told him. 'Cause he could never love anybody since he lost his hand in his girl." I thought that was very funny. It was giving like Little Shop of Horrors some reason. Like she was soliloquizing off into the distance, and then there's a girl standing next to her who like kind of like absentmindedly tries to like give her like a condolence pat afterwards, but kind of like gives up halfway through.
It is very funny. It is very absurdist and it is very funny. Do I hate it just because it's in relation to Ronnie? Where I was like, what about that entire scenario? Did you go, that's the man for me?
He's a bit of all right, babes. He's my
Like,
type on paper.
there's a difference between being like kind of like artistically and poetically tormented, creatively tormented, or versus being actually like delusional and you meet a stranger and then you ask for a big knife to cut your throat in front of them and in front of everybody and in the basement of the bakery and getting blood on every single baguette that was down there.
Yeah, it's a personality disorder, babes.
There's a difference, and you need to go to confession. Go to confession.
You need to go to confession. I think this is a you problem, actually. I think that you need to like separate the like character from like him as like a real life person you're just like of him. I'm fucking with you. He's diabolical. He's horrible. What else do you dislike? Or do you want to keep talking about it?
I just like him. I just like almost every line he says. I hate his reasonings for being a person, all of that stuff. Every time he had a line or talked, I was like, shut up, get out of here. Let the adults talk. The rest of my dislikes will come out when we talk about the romance, because that's where a lot of it lies as well.
Okay. My other dislikes are very specific.
Okay.
I did not like that when Loretta goes over to Ronnie's house to have a talk with him, she immediately starts mothering him and makes him a meal. And that meal is one large rare steak and a pile of cooked bear spaghetti.
Fucking butter noodles she made him.
I didn't even look like there was butter, girl. I looked so close.
Bro, I didn't even look because she immediately was mothering him. She went to the kitchen. She made him the steak. He's like, I like it well done. And she's like, you're going to have it rare. I was having the heebie-jeebies, bro. My next dislike is just the men, all of them, every single man, except for Nono.
Yeah, same.
They all gave me the heebie-jeebies. Like, Johnny, gross.
Don't think we were supposed to like any of the men except for Ronnie. I think we were supposed to like Ronnie because we were supposed to be happy that she ended up with him in the end. I think.
We want to know the reasons why.
I don't know, but we can get into that.
Exactly. We'll get into it, but I want to know the reasons why. When her mom asks her at the end, do you love him? And she goes, awfully so or something. I'm like, why? What? What about him? To me, his most redeeming quality is that he likes the opera. That's it. And his apartment's pretty clean.
Yeah, I did notice that. That was surprising. When you see his apartment and he's got like a nice little like artsy Montreal soft boy like record set up. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Why not?
That's it. The exact way I was going to put it as well.
I don't like the old man who Rose meets in the restaurant. He's not even old. He's just like an older gentleman who is a professor. He's played by the guy who plays the dad on Frasier. And he just keeps dating these young women who are his students. And like you hear him have this conflict with two separate women who are way younger than him. Basically him just not taking their concerns and their problems seriously. And they get fed up with him and then they leave. And then both Loretta and Rose look at him on separate occasions and go, oh, well, the girls are too young for him. That was never going to work out, And Rose Rose is the one who actually says it to his face. And then he gives this long story about how basically he is like sick and tired of his life and he doesn't get to experience new things anymore and he's bored. And so when he sees like young, nubile women so full of promise, he wants to harvest it and leech it out of them like fucking Voldemort drinking unicorn blood. And he literally wants to tap into them and steal their life force. And he says it like with a wistful smile, like that's totally reasonable, which was so gross, but also like pretty self-aware. Like, I don't think we're supposed to like him, even though it's the 80s and sometimes they would put some shit in movies that you're like, wait, we're supposed to like this. This one felt very self-aware as being like a gross thing that an older guy is doing and being weird. Hated it. Boot. And I also hated Johnny. Hated him from the jump. He's so fucking annoying. She should have let him eat the oily fish and get a stomach ache on the plane. Because he's so friggin' annoying. He proposes to Loretta at the restaurant. Doesn't think to get down on a knee. Doesn't even think to bring a ring. And then behind him, this guy goes, she goes, where's the ring? He goes, oh, the ring. And like slaps his hand on his face so comically. The guys behind him are like, if it was me, I would have sprung for the ring. That's just me.
The way he just went when he got called out on it, he went,
that was so
literally
funny.
Gasped and covered his little stupid ass face. And he went, oh my God, the way you told the restaurant staff that you're going to propose, but you thought of that, but you didn't think of the ring. And just like the way she had to guide him to propose pissed me the fuck off.
It really did a good job of showing where she was at in her relationship with them, though. She knew she would have to coach him through every little thing. She would have to demand certain standards, and she was not bothered by that because she's probably been dealing with it their whole relationship. And she was like, well, she knew she was settling. She knew, and she was fine with it.
Yeah, exactly. Am I still going to be upset about it? Oh, yeah. It's so upsetting to watch. He's a big baby. He literally doesn't know how to do anything.
And the reason that he called off the engagement when his mother like miraculously recovered from her deathbed was because he realized he only needs one mommy and his biological mommy is still alive, so he doesn't need to marry one.
Bro.
She was on death's door and Johnny told her that he was getting married to Loretta. And then the mom was like, I'm not sick anymore. I can get up and make a whole meal. We're going to eat. Come, like, come sit, blah, blah, blah. Basically being like boy mom.
Oh.
Yeah, gross.
I hate that. Yeah, all the men in this movie gave me truly the heebie-jeebies. I will say, however much the professor's character is a piece of shit, garbage man. He was at least like a little charming.
Yeah.
When he was kind of taken by Rose, I was like, I like that. Do I hate him? Yeah. But do I like that he's charming? Because no one was charming. I was just waiting for charm. I was like,
please, sir, may I have some charm? One crumb of charm.
That was me. And then I had to get it from this piece of shit.
Oh, God. Professor. We were starving out there, folks.
Yeah.
It was a desert. It was a drought of charm.
Next dislike. So my next dislike was the girl who was in love with him. I was like, girl, get your go to therapy, get your eyes checked. That's crazy.
The one who wouldn't give him the knife.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my, I guess, last dislike was Loretta's gray hair.
Well, you didn't like it?
I was like, how old is she in this?
37.
And I get all the reasons. And I know people get gray hair from like 20 years old to 1,000 years old. I get it. But I just like, I was looking at her and when she goes, I'm 37 years old. I'm like, you're telling me that lady is supposed to be 5 years older than me? That's crazy to me. I couldn't stop staring at it. I couldn't stop looking at Cher with gray hair around her. I was just like, girl, pick yourself up. I was just getting mad at her. What are you doing? You are so hot.
Literally. Try and hide under those enormous woolen jackets all you want, little Miss Hot Potato. We can clock it.
I can see your slinky little legs in a heel. Okay. I can see your bone structure.
Those friggin' cheekbones. Girl, get out of here. It's because they make her look matronly on purpose. Like that.
Yeah.
a lot of 80s fashion is also just dated. So, like, watching it now, we have that association of it being like an older generation. So it looks like someone who's older already. And then you give
Yeah.
them the gray hair, you give them the sensible heels, the dowdy kind of pinned back hair. And like, it was also very frizzy before she had her hair done. And then afterwards, it was like she had all these like nicely defined curls. And it was like, okay, they put a little hair mask on my girl. Okay, thank you. When's the last time you went to the hair salon?
I think they leaned too heavy on it. They could have
Mm.
just made her look like she wasn't taking care of herself. Or not even taking care of herself. She wasn't caring about her appearance. The gray was a lot to me.
For some reason, I thought the gray was cute.
Did you?
Yeah. I was like, I didn't realize that it was supposed to be a sign that she wasn't taking care of herself at first. I was like, oh, nice. They're like, she's like doing a more natural look in this movie. Cute.
Well, that's the thing is that if she was just a woman with gray hair and they kept it, but like after she got some, she went to the salon and they were like, "Oh, finally, she gets her groove back."
Literally.
She gets her groove back. She buys lipstick. She buys a red dress, and it's just and she's staring at herself. And there's a very intense scene where she's looking at herself in the thing, and she's realizing that she is Hottie McToddy, and she's putting on this very red lipstick very slowly, and she's like transforming into this person. But it all just also like happens in a day. It all just happens in a day. But like that's the thing is that if she was just a woman who was, finding her self-esteem again and she kept her gray hair, great. I just felt like they leaned into it too much, and it just was supposed to imply like she really is leaning into spinsterhood because she's 37. She's like, what life is there for me? I'm too late. Ma, what do you mean have a kid?
I'm old enough to be your mother at this point, Ma.
Yeah.
You know who did the glow up montage so much better, and arguably to this day one of the peak glow up montages is My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Can we do that movie? Why have we not done that movie?
I don't know. I have to work really hard to find things to like about Ronnie. The one thing I do like about him is that he is a caricature, and I am assessing him from that perspective of like, okay, he's a cartoon character, and every single time he speaks, it's a soliloquy, and it's like he thinks it's like some revolutionary thing he's saying. He has big feelings.
Yeah.
All the time. Every feeling is a big feeling.
Yeah.
He has never heard of the concept of like filtering things. Thought comes to head, thought goes out mouth.
Thought is screamed out. Thought and feeling is screamed out. Furniture flipped.
There was one part where she's reading him, basically. She's being like, this is what your personality is about. Get it together. He goes, what are you doing? She goes, I'm telling you your life. He goes, no. I mean, what are you doing? Marrying Johnny, blah, blah, blah. And then he stands up and he flips over the table and then like poses and like swishes his hair. She's sitting there on the chair like this. Like, what the fuck is going on? Is he having a like episode? And then he just like grabs her and pulls her up and kisses her. And like the pose took me out, bro. When he stopped in the middle of all that to pose, that was so
pose and to run his hand through his hair. Like he's fucking Danny Zuko.
Yeah.
The way he did it, Ian, I had to rewind to show Ian. He literally screamed. He was guffawing. It was crazy. That was the scene that I was sitting there like this. I was so mad. I was digging my fingernails into my arm, dude. I was so pissed off. The whole dialogue of after he flips the table and he grabs her, we're gonna just talk about the romance, quote unquote romance. After he flips the table, he pulls her up and kisses her. It just really pissed me the fuck off. I could not get over it. And the dialogue, and he lifts her into his arms and she's like, where are we going? She's like, where are we going? And he's like, the bed. She's like, oh, fine, take me. And then just flops in his arms, and he brings her to the bed. He puts her down. She's like, oh, take me. And then he's saying stuff about Johnny. I can't even remember what he was saying. And she's like, okay, take it out on me. Let all your anger out to Johnny on me, while he's like making out with her. So I was like this. I was crossed arms, angry, brow furrowed. And then when that was happening, I was like hiding behind my notebook because I was like,
I was like chewing on the book, chomping down on it so you didn't scream.
Yeah. That's literally how I was the whole time. I just stop and look at Ian and be like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck did I just see? What just happened? I hated that scene.
And that's meant to be one of like the ultimate scenes that carry the romance in this movie. That is apparently one of the best romances of the decade or whatever. And it's like, is it though? What do we like about this? What I want someone to isolate what they like about this for me.
Yeah, she literally just read him to Phil, told him he needs to grow up and he's being delusional and needs to mature. And then when he picks her up, makes out with her, she gives in.
This is like Baby Girl 1987.
It's crazy. And I'm like, what about anything that he just showed you? The way he talks, or fucking meet cute, bro. What about any of that? Her nature calling out to his wolf, as he puts it.
The
Like,
wolf.
what the
wolf.
fuck?
Oh my god, I forgot about the like how much they're talking about wolves in this movie.
Yeah.
Wolves and the moon, bro. Are they furries? What's going on? This is Twilight.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I really don't know. My best guess is that she was so dissatisfied with her life, unexcited about any of it, that he was excitement. He was something forbidden, which we know forbidden romance is like there's definitely like an allure, an intrigue. So like the forbiddenness that he is her fiance's brother, the fact that he's obviously lost the plot. So like I don't know, maybe he's like crazy in the sack or something. So she's like going, oh, maybe, who knows? So there's that. He's a little bit unhinged. So it's like it could be exciting. And then also, I guess later on, yeah, like he takes her to the opera and he do be gazing at her, but then he opens his mouth and kind of ruins it. But he is like perceiving her in a way.
He's just so intense. And I get all of that. I knew that when the whole point is for her to meet his younger brother, she's gonna fall in love with him, and that's gonna be like the big thing. I'm on board. Sign me the fuck up. I'm there for that.
Yeah.
But then you present me this male lead, this character who I'm like, what about him is supposed to be exciting? Because it's like there was nothing about it that felt like dangerous in a sexy way. It really genuinely felt dangerous in a dangerous way.
Dangerous in an impatient way.
In an impatient way.
This was While You Were Sleeping from Tinu.
This is While You Were Sleeping and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Crossover event.
Like, I don't know if how much of it was actually in the script and if the script Ronnie was supposed to be actually like a bigger romantic or something. And it was just the choices Nicolas Cage made that made him a little too like, because there's a line that you cross where then it just becomes a little like scary in a way that you can't get over, you know?
Yeah, like grippy socks, like you crossed a line. Yeah.
All of that kind of just goes away after they have sex for the first time. And then he's like, meet me at the opera. I love the opera. Please meet me. And he's all dressed up. All of a sudden, he's all hair slicked back, dressed up. He did get less crazy looking as the movie went on, which thank God. But like, then he's so soft all the time. And all it took is for this maternal figure to enter his life. Because he has no relation to his mother. His mother is on his deathbed. They are brothers. Yeah. Johnny's the one who goes and visits his mom. Ronnie's there like, I don't give a fuck.
Because she tamed the wolf inside him, princess. Oh my god.
It's so upsetting, dude.
Smash the bubbly can.
I could buy into it. I wanted to see it. I knew what the movie was. But then you just present me this person who I cannot see any redeeming qualities for.
Yeah.
He did not charm her in any way. If he was a little dangerous, a little whatever, great. Even better. The sex is going to be great.
But having this Ronnie as a partner is kind of like having a hyena as a pet. You never 100% know that you're safe. Oh, there's a non-zero chance that he might snap or something.
And I'm not like everybody has to have a safe, funny, nerdy guy, whatever. Like, I know we're lunatics under the moon. Like, I get it. We're throwing logic away and we're listening to the moon and what it's telling us. And that's fine.
What is the moon saying?
Huh? La Lune, speak up. She said, he's crazy. Get out of there, girl.
Girl, keep looking.
Keep looking.
Your hair looks nice.
There are other Italian Americans in the Brooklyn.
Yeah, just wait a few years. They're gonna put out a movie called Little Italy.
You know what I just realized? The thing I can equate it to is like, sometimes it's, sometimes ladies, it's hard to have an orgasm and all of the right things could be happening and you're there, you're getting there. You're right there. You're right there. And then it just, something happens. Someone opens their mouth or one wrong thing and it goes away. That's what it felt like.
That is devastating. It's like when you're about to sneeze and then it goes away.
Yes, yes.
You were all primed up for this premise that you're like, I love this. Let's go. And then it was such a big letdown.
Yeah. That's what it felt like to me. What do you think about the romance?
Agree. 100% agree. You're right.
Everyone's romance I didn't care for, except for like the possible one Rose was maybe gonna have with the guy. Like I like that she had a moment where she could feel like she could be beguiling to a man again.
Desired.
Yeah, I liked that she got to have that moment. And again, if this movie was only that storyline, I would have finished. That'd be great. But because it wasn't, I'm blue walled.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you need to watch something as a palate cleanser after.
Anything else you want to add about the romance?
I think I'm going to be giving this movie 2 different ratings. One as an overall film and one as a rom-com. And that will tell you what you need to know about how I perceive the romance in this movie.
Yeah.
So much potential. Frittered away. Apple frittered away. Did you get out your rage? Do you feel good now?
I did. I crushed the can, so I feel good about that. I'm happy that you agree with me because if you were like, no, but this, I would have thought differently of you.
You know me too, and I don't like cheating. So I'm like, even though they end up together in the end, it's like, well, you had to cheat to get there. So it kind of like was like,
That's what I was saying to Ian. I was like, I feel like Molly said this is one of her favorite movies. And then he was even saying, he brought up, he's like, how can this be one of Molly's favorite movies? He's like, I swear that we all watched 4 Weddings and a Funeral together and she refused to do that movie on VomCom because she was so upset about all the cheating. I was like, I know. And that's why I texted you because I needed to hear from you.
You know what it was? I think maybe my all-time favorite rom-com is LA Story. And that was the other movie we were potentially going to talk about today. We were talking about them in the same conversation. So maybe they got like conflated or something. But I really do love LA Story. And I have watched it. I rewatched it recently to make sure I still love it. And I still do.
Oh, okay, good. Forgot about quotes. I love the whole spiel. But when that old lady was like, I put a curse on that plane. So funny.
That was
like
so
trauma dumping on a lady. Amazing. Cosmo says the line about Johnny. He says, when he smiles, I can't see his teeth. What is he hiding? Funny. Because it's true. When people are only ever, what are you hiding? Do you have a little frog that you're holding in your mouth?
What you got in there?
What do you got in there? Huh? What's going on? The mom says when you love... She's talking about men. When Loretta tells her that she's getting married to Johnny, Rose asks Loretta, do you love him? And Loretta immediately was like, no. It is amazing. When she said no, I was like, thank God. But then Rose says, good. When you love them, they drive you crazy because they know they can. I was like, wisdom. Little claps, little claps.
Tiny.
When Johnny calls Loretta from Sicily on the phone, he calls her and he goes, Loretta, I'm calling from my mother's deathbed. Stop making this about you. Shut up.
The drama.
But the line after she hangs up and her mom is asking her like, what happened, whatever. How's the mom? And Loretta goes, she's dying, but I can still hear her big mouth. And then I already said the part where Ronnie is like, I lost my hand, I lost my bride. He has his hand, he has his bride. That was honestly the best part of that whole scene.
Wacko delivery of that line. So good.
My last and final favorite quote was, after everything is done and all of the happy ending is happening, all of the Ronnie proposes to Loretta using Johnny's ring. It's all crazy, guys. It's fucking crazy, this movie. Yeah. Okay. At the end, the grandpa has no idea what's happening because he's on his own little walks and adventures with his 5 dogs and he's just like, my son should pay for the wedding. He doesn't even know at this point who the fuck Ronnie is. So he walks in, all of this drama. Everyone is happy celebrating that they're engaged. And then it just cuts to the dad and he's leaning on the table and he's crying. He's holding up the tissue. And Cosmo asks his dad, Pops, what's wrong? And he just looks up and he's like, I'm confused. And he continues crying. And I was like, same, Pops. Same.
We all get it.
I get it, Queen. Anyways, those are my quotes.
That was also all of the same of my quotes. I also the only one I have to add is when actually a quote that I do like from Johnny because it's so buffoonish
Yeah.
is when the young woman in the restaurant throw a drink on the professor and then he's like laughing. He's like, "Ha, a man who can't control his woman is funny." And he says it like with a pause like that and then he looks at her like he's like, "Why aren't you laughing? A man who can't control his woman is funny." Like in waiting, and I'm like, oh my god, this fucking buffoon. But that's actually very funny that he like had to point it out. I was like, girl, I know you are unfunny. You are unfunny.
I know that you are the wettest piece of ciabatta bread on the ground.
This caveman ass humor. In modern day, he would be subscribed to all of like the dating coach alpha male influencers, and he listens to them alone in his car. But like he gets home from work and like sits in his car and listens to them because if he goes inside, his bitch wife or his bitch mom.
Girl.
I'm saying that in quotes because that's how he would perceive them. Yeah. His awful mom, the awful woman that he lives with, who is wrong about everything and never listens to him and what baseball cards he wants to buy and frame and put up on the wall.
So upsetting. So all of your quotes are the exact same?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. I think all of our points were the exact same.
Yeah.
You think what I think.
When worlds collide, we have the same brain once again.
Morley,
yes.
You said you have 2 ratings. Tell me the 2.
As a comedy movie, absurd, silly, unexpected movie, I would give this a 7.5 pinky rings out of 10. As a rom-com, 2 pinky rings out of 10.
Nice.
How about you?
I also want to do 2 ratings. As a, like you said, overall comedic movie, I'm going to give it 8 pasta fazools out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
As a romantic comedy, quote unquote,
right.
I'm going to give it 1 moon hitting your eye like a big pizza pie out of 10.
Yeah, we didn't like it.
No, terrible, awful. Is that the lowest rating we've ever given?
Yeah. There was one that I really fucking hated that we watched. I think I gave Serendipity a pretty bad rating, but it wasn't that bad. This one's the worst.
This one's the worst. Molly, where can the people find you on the internet?
Right. You guys can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Molly's Outbox, and you can find the podcast at VomCom Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere that you get your podcasts. Kat, how about you?
You can find me on literally anything at It's Catherine Ram. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
Okay, ciao.
Ciao, buona notte.
Ciao.